All right. Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. We're here today to talk about the pros and cons of volume eating. And you might be wondering why that's important, but we are guilty as charged for doing that. And also, we know that a lot of our clients do it. And we want to just dive into that because.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait.
Oh.
What is volume eating?
So if you're new here, volume eating is essentially what a lot of people do when they realize their calories get pretty low and they are hungry. So they want to fill themselves up by way of other means of items and sometimes beverages that are 0 to low very, very low calories. So you'll see this oftentimes in competitors, people who are doing extreme dieting, transformation challenges where your transformation camp is having you eat tilapia and asparagus. You'll see it in more of the extreme world of things, but I think there is still some of this that is beneficial to those that are trying to live a fit and healthy lifestyle. But we're going to talk about where you could go wrong and some ways to do it right.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. I needed that. I just needed to make sure,
You're welcome. Thank you.
I was like, I feel like that's a question.
Yeah. That's why I have you here. You're my right brain or left brain. So do you have experience with volume eating?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's, if y'all ever been on my stories, I talk about mowing the lawn. Okay.
Mowing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn. All right. What does that mean? That means what I do is I have my meal, right? But this could be whether I'm feeling extra hungry one day, or maybe I'm in a super low calorie diet and I'm trying to get on stage. So what I do is I make a little salad underneath all of my meal, right?
Yeah.
So it's either going to be like lettuce. It could be butter lettuce. It could be regular ass lettuce. Typically what I try and stick to is like spinach. I love me a spinach salad. So if you be seeing that, it'll be like spinach on the bottom, put my whole ass meal on top, even if it's got carbs, rice. Like you would think that would not be something that you would normally put in a salad, but
we're weird. We're competitors. We do weird shit with
no, I feel like if you put spinach over the top of your meal and just like stir it in, it's just so yummy.
Okay. Side note, does spinach do anything weird to anyone else's teeth, or is that just me?
Your teeth?
Yeah.
No.
Like when you bite into raw spinach,
Does it feel weird?
It's almost like squeaky. Is that weird?
Is it cleaning your teeth? Maybe there's something in spinach. Please
add that
in the comment.
Does anyone else have weird spinach, squeaky spinach teeth, or is it just me? Maybe it's just me. But
do you like use your finger?
No, but when I'm eating it, it just feels like it's like, I don't know. It's not gritty. It just does like a weird thing to my teeth.
So do you not like spinach?
I will eat it, but I just know that that's going to be something that is happening in my mouth as I put it in there.
I actually really like spinach.
Yeah.
I don't like it cooked though. I think it tastes like fish.
You can cook an entire bag of spinach and you'll have this much spinach by the time you're done.
This bag of spinach is now this small.
I think we've all seen those memes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive into pros, right? We already kind of covered why, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper so you understand. And maybe this will give you some useful tips to start implementing this into your nutrition strategy. If you find that you struggle with certain things like satiety, which is the main reason why a lot of people will do voluminous foods.
I'm hungry.
Yes. So if you are constantly hungry, or you feel like, you have that ravenous factor to your hunger, this does help. So it can help you feel fuller longer. It allows you to consume more food, right? Which a lot of times the nature of dieting means you're eating less volume of food, and it will keep your calorie range in check if you are picking the appropriate types of things.
Right. I mean, you want to be eating foods that are nutrient dense, right? And that is going to be a lot of the things that are going to be like filler foods, like for me, spinach would be a filler food. Another thing that I would be a filler food would be, cauliflower rice. Okay. That is a great way to kind of swap out some of your rice for some cauliflower rice, but still have the same amount of volume to be able to eat that and feel like you're still getting a little bit more food.
Yes. So that would be point number 2, which is when you incorporate volume eating, a lot of times it is coming by way of nutrient dense foods, because those things are generally lower in calories, right? You're not going to be, consuming copious amounts of, I don't know, Pop-Tarts, right? And that will at some point create fullness, but at the expense of a shitload of calories.
Right.
And honestly, not feeling so great and like zero to no nutrient quality to that food. So volume eating with whole nutrient foods. Again, she said spinach. We got lettuce. You could do a variety of lettuces.
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers are great. A lot of times you can do some of the super low calorie veggies. Pickles are one, green beans, asparagus, broccoli, things like that. So you can start to really expand your micronutrients when you incorporate a lot of nutrient dense foods.
Green things.
Now fruits, that gets a little tricky sometimes. And I'm not going to be the one that's being like, don't eat fruit, it makes you fat, but it has calories. Yes, it does have some fiber to offset that a little bit, but fruits are a little harder to do that with.
Right. You can also do like leaner protein. So like if somebody's doing a higher fat protein, you're not going to be able to eat as much of it and get the same amount of calories as if you were eating something. So say you're used to buying turkey, that's 93.7. There's like 8 grams of fat in that in a normal serving size, right? If you buy the 99% turkey that is this lean, you're only going to get, anywhere from 2 to 3 grams of fat for the same amount of food. And you're going to be able to eat more of the leaner protein than you would of the one that's going to have a higher fat in it.
Yes. And I like to make 2 points to that. So 1 point or 1 addition, I should say 1 point and 1 addition. So 1 point to that is I hear the argument often, especially in the internet world and all my favorite YouTube trolls that, okay, we'll just eat the higher fat, option, and then you won't be hungry because the fat's going to satiate you.
Right.
And while that is indeed correct, there is that possibility. The issue then becomes if you have body goals like getting shredded on stage or something like that, you can't default to that, right? Because you are trying to get to freakishly low levels of leanness, which we both have experience with,
right?
And getting people freakishly lean, and the macro ratios for that are going to require a very low fat diet. Yeah. I mean, sometimes in prep, I was eating like 10 grams, 15 grams a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Not healthy, not realistic, not something the average everyday person should do. But the reality of it is this is what the world we're in, right? In terms of bodybuilding. So just to kind of piggyback on that, but one also really great high volume food that is low in calories, but is high in protein is egg whites.
Yeah.
So that is something that I know I live on in diet phases or prep phases. I know you live on
egg whites all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm so used to them that they're so good. And what I'll do too is like, I'll make little like egg white omelets and it's delicious. I know it's something that some people kind of have to get used to. Another option that we've been talking about a lot in the studio, which sounds really funny because the only reason I ever knew about this was because of my grandma and grandpa, but egg beaters.
Yeah.
Egg beaters. And they have like a Southwest style that has like a flavor in it. Like these things don't have to taste like garbage for you to want to like them and it be a healthy option.
Yes. And I have made some very interesting things with egg whites.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've made like mug cakes. I've made sweet eggs, savory eggs. I mean, you just kind of like when you're in prep mode and you have like 5 real things that you can consume and protein is usually really high, then you can play around with that. And they, they're voluminous and they're heavy and it's protein. So that's also another really good, like high volume item.
Right.
Yeah. And then the third thing is obviously when you consume high volume foods and things of that nature that are low in calories, this is obviously what we've been talking about is going to help with weight management.
By design, if you are eating more high volume foods, you're not going to have enough room for all of the other foods that you would most likely be, wanting to eat because you're not going to be able to fit that much stuff in there.
Yeah.
And if you can, you're probably not going to feel too great later.
Yes. So it's nice to have that base layer of high volume.
Well,
foods.
I mean, that just goes to show, like when we go out to dinner, like typically we order cucumber salad or we order a regular salad first. And we just make sure when we're doing that, we're ordering the dressing that might be a lower calorie or, if I'm at a Mexican restaurant, I use salsa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use like regular ranch because that's going to up the fat process in there. But if I have a salad or something that's kind of like in my stomach before I have my actual meal, that would probably give me a better chance to have leftovers.
Most definitely.
To take home.
Yeah. I think I definitely know you're the queen of this topic. And I've been removed from it from a while, from not competing and whatnot, in the past couple of years, but it was definitely something we did often. I think some of those habits we still carry over, even though we're not competing, because it just helps us be more mindful when we are sitting down to have sushis. We're not smashing 3 rolls, right? We're smashing 1 roll.
Right.
And maybe it's a fun roll, but we've already kind of like did the pre-layer of like a cucumber salad or a side salad or edamame, which takes a little bit, right, favorite to eat and things like that. So that's, just kind of side bonus tips if you're doing sushi. Sushi to me is like a cleaner meal, where I can order a roll if I really want to. And like all my appetizers and everything are probably going to be less detrimental to my diet if I'm dieting, than going to like Italian food or,
also
whatever.
There's other options. If you're at sushi, like you probably shouldn't get the fried, vegetable and the fried shrimp and all of that. So that's our options to be able to kind of still have the appetizers, but not have them like tank the calories.
Correct. Yeah. So, keep that in mind, dining out, we carry these tools over when we are eating in restaurants too, for the most part. Trust me, I'm saying this. We are not standing on our soapbox saying that we do this every single time we go out and all the things. When we're in prep, 100% yes. But if you're a lifestyle person, this isn't something we are doing 100% of the time. There's probably like a meal or two over the course of a week where we go out and we're just like being social, where we're like, fuck it. It calls for some chips and salsa or whatever, but we're not partaking daily. Right. So just to kind of continue down the path of the pros, another great pro is that a lot of times when you're doing this volume eating, you're getting lots of fiber, right? Lots of fiber, because most of these foods are vegetables or fruits.
Correct.
So the fiber, if we are really like in a society where we don't consume enough fiber, really, to be honest, with so much processed
that is something
stuff
that we really watch.
Yes.
As just going through daily life. Because if you don't have enough fiber, guess what?
You ain't pooping.
You ain't gonna go poop.
And you got to move that stuff around.
Yes.
So it is another great way to get in some added fiber, because again, we don't usually get it very often, or sometimes people have to supplement with something like Metamucil or some psyllium husk or something like that to kind of help them go to the bathroom.
Right.
But if you can up your veggie game, you'll be amazed. Like, I can't tell you how many clients, back to the spinach talk, where I've started working with them. They only go to the bathroom like every 3 days or something like that. And I do 2 things immediately. One, I have them add a greens powder to their diet, which we'll link up in the show notes, for you, which is superfoods. And the second thing is I will tell them, just start throwing spinach in everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I prefer them to have it cooked, just a little bit, because I don't want them eating a ton of raw stuff. And I know there's, pros and cons to that, but adding spinach, and then they start pooping.
I feel like I have a lot of people that, listen, the first thing that I ask when I have a client is, are you pooping every day? Are you drinking water? And then the next question is going to be, where's our vegetables? Because if not, like, we know that's why it's not happening. You're not getting enough fiber. It's not pushing things through, and you don't want to be full of shit.
No,
nobody wants to be full of shit. Okay.
No. Yeah. So fiber is a perk. And then obviously the most obvious, which we've been talking about a lot, is, hitting your micronutrients. So, a lot of people aren't eating enough fruits and vegetables, and a lot of the ways that our fruits and vegetables are farmed, the quality isn't as great as it used to be. So again, pulsing that up with volume eating, maybe adding some greens in there too, also will help as well. But really great for digestive and overall health. Right?
Yeah. If you are having a hard time pooping and you're not eating anything green, that's your problem.
Struggle bus.
Try and eat some green shit, and then see if you might have some shit.
Yes, exactly. And then another last one that we have here, and I'm sure there are other pros to eating high volume, but it's easier to sustain a lower calorie diet for periods of time when you can bulk up your meals with high bulk items.
Yeah.
No, one thing I did pretty religiously in my last prep was I used a ton of shredded lettuce.
Yes.
And I just wanted everything to feel like I was eating Taco Bell because
and it did.
Yeah.
Because I started doing that too. And I was like, this is delicious.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous. But, you know, even in like my normal lifestyle diet, you know, I do that. I add spinach to things. I add shredded lettuce to things because what I'm doing is I'm creating different options to be able to have those things that I do like. You know, Taco Bell is shredded lettuce. It's delicious.
Yes. And then if you get Taco Bell hot sauce.
Yes.
And you have like a lean ground beef and then you throw some tomatoes and like shit like that. It's just, I don't know. It's a nice way to be able to have a low calorie meal, especially like if your family's eating tacos or whatever. Like shredded lettuce was always just like my go-to. So it just allowed me to diet. I feel like for as many shows as I've done, I did volume eating in almost every single show.
Yeah.
With the exception of the first show, because I was terrified to eat anything that my coach told me I could not eat. So that show, exclusive of this conversation, but every other show I was doing volume eating. There were some times that I had to scale back. I know you probably did too.
Oh yeah.
Because we got out of hand.
How many gobs of spinach can I put in this bowl right now? You know, it's out of hand. And then, you know, there's still calories in that. It's just the fact that, you know, you should maybe keep it to a minimum. Yes. But I think one thing about that too is that you can eat things like that and you can eat them every day. So if you have like a high volume and it makes you be able to kind of sustain that meal and eat it more than once, you know? Mm-hmm. And the more that you can keep those kind of foods in, the more that you're going to want to eat healthfully.
Definitely.
Because if it tastes like Taco Bell, I'm going to try and eat that every day.
Yeah.
Until I'm tired of it.
For sure.
Or until I forget to buy the rest of that taco sauce.
Yeah.
And then I don't have any more of the little the packets you've saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. I remember those days.
I'm like in the drunk drawer trying to find the Taco Bell packet.
They're at the back with the soy sauce.
And then you got to read it. What does it say?
Yeah. It has always have a love note for you from Taco Bell. All right. Let's move on to the cons.
You know, I don't really like being negative.
I know you don't.
But I'm going to try my best.
Okay.
Okay.
I like being negative. So we're going to talk about the cons. I don't like it, but the cons of volume eating. All right. So one is not everybody enjoys the taste of vegetables. Okay.
No.
I'm dealing with a boyfriend who eats one thing that's green and it's like bell peppers. So I get it, right? And like having raised kids, you know, Alicia East the Beast, I'm going to throw her under the bus. Yeah. Like getting her to eat vegetables, impossible. I think she's kind of like boycotted them as well.
Still a little
She's not a big volume eater.
No,
right? She's not. So
she can eat what she's supposed to and she's great. See, that's the thing. I feel like everybody's going to be different. Sometimes, you know, maybe you're like me and you're hungry a lot.
Right.
And that is why volume eating works. But however, like we're saying, you know, spinach might make your teeth squeaky.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't like spinach. Okay. So you got to kind of find the things that you like. That's the thing why shredded lettuce just kind of brought her back to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Which I think these are the way that we're making these things taste good when we know like cauliflower rice by itself is not going to be delicious.
Right. And
all right. It's probably going to smell a little bit.
Yes, for sure. Especially on the way out. But let's be, you know, like shredded lettuce has like basically no nutrient.
No,
pretty much no nutrient properties, like positive nutrient properties, really. I mean, some.
It's like water.
But it's full of water, right? And so that's also another thing too, is that you're getting that volume and it's just creating that sense of fullness, which shredded lettuce is one of those super helpful things. But again, taste, satisfaction, not always the greatest, especially if you're in a deficit and you can't like have a little bit of freedom with the sauces that you're using, because I think that's an overlooked thing by a lot of people as well that say they're eating good and can't lose weight. It's like they use a shitload of sauces and butters and oils. Ooh. So it's like, that's the other thing you have to consider, right? Like you can have more green beans or broccoli or whatever, but they're not like doused in oil and like battered and fried and shit like that. So don't take it the wrong way. So that's the other thing. It's not always everybody's favorite.
Well, I think the next one, right? This is something that we've dealt with for a long time. Cause I mean, we've been eating healthfully for over 10 years. Both of us, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we've both lost a lot of weight. And so we have social situations where we go into, and it's difficult to be able to be like, how am I going to high volume eat when, you know, it's whatever's on the menu?
Yes.
Guess what? I found the
the secret.
I've found the secret.
Yeah. Let's spend some time here because again, like I said, I feel like you do this really, really well. I do if I'm in the mood to, but
I do this more often than not. It's like the less often is when I order something that probably wasn't as good for me. But most of the time, in social situations, I can make this happen. If you're at a restaurant, no matter what you're ordering, what you can do is you can order double vegetables.
Yeah.
Great. Easy, right? Pick and choose where you're going to go with that. If I'm at Mexican food and I want to eat tacos, I'm going to order tacos. But you know what happens? They give you 2 tortillas per taco.
Yes.
Guess what? Eat 1 tortilla. And you've already saved a whole lot of calories.
And usually I tell them in advance, so I'm not tempted to eat both.
I love just peeling them apart.
But I suck at that. So I have a struggle opening wrappers of any kind. So I feel like when I get 2 tortillas stuck back to back, it's like, it's anxiety provoking. Because I'm like, I'm going to rip a hole in tortilla number 1, and then I'm going to be mad about it. And then I'm just going to eat both of them. So,
another thing too that I think has been really great with restaurants is they always have a fit menu.
That's been,
they have a fit menu. Like, don't be embarrassed to order off of the fit menu. It is good for you. That shit still tastes good.
Yeah.
And you don't have to leave a restaurant feeling like somebody needs to roll you out.
Most definitely.
That is just by, personal.
I honestly do think too, if a lot of people adapted volume eating in the way that we've sort of naturally fallen into it by necessity of being competitors, right? But I think if they followed that sense in that, like when they go out to eat, they know that they're going to sort of follow that strategy before they have their entree or whatever.
Yeah.
They would be so much better off, not necessarily only from a body scale, fat, body weight, whatever perspective, but health in general.
Yeah.
Right. I think they're just getting in the good shit and then they can have the fun stuff. That's kind of my negotiation with my boyfriend too. When we go out, it's like, we're going to order something responsible.
Yeah.
And then we're going to order something like irresponsible and we're going to split it.
Right. And I think that works out really well. And that's another thing too. Like I've had a lot of clients where they're having anniversaries, they're having date nights, they're having like vacations and things like that. And I'm like, look, I don't want you to feel like you have to go through this celebration where you're not being able to participate. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pre-plan. We're going to show you how you're going to be able to order at wherever the place is. And then just kind of be able, if it is a celebration, share that dessert. Don't get too crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I love going to restaurants and pretending like it's somebody's birthday. And then we just have a dessert. We just all have a bite of it. And it's
great.
Secret hack. It's somebody's birthday.
If they come up and they say, are you celebrating anybody? You look across the table and you say it's their birthday.
Yes.
I don't care who it is.
Yes.
See your grandma.
It was Tara's birthday.
It was Tara's birthday and it was great.
So that is a great way to just be able to go out, eat socially and still stay on track, not feel like you're going to have FOMO, not going out with your friends and doing all the things, and just kind of start your meals early with a nice base layer of some volume.
Right. I think one thing we need to be careful right? We're talking about eating all the green things. There has been a time in my life where the balance was off. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to go into our next one of nutrient balance, right? Yes. If you are having too much fiber, you're not going to poop either.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
You have to, I don't think people realize that. I think I hear often that, especially when I'm looking at a client's like food logs and stuff, and I'm like, yo, you were eating like 50 grams of fiber, like for 4 days in a row. That's why you haven't shit. Okay. Yeah. So there has to be that happy medium.
Yeah. I think it also, if we want you to diet lifestyle, right? So unless you are a competitor, that's a totally different thing. But if you are doing a lifestyle client and you are trying to lose a little bit of fat, you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, what we want to do is we want to keep your macros at a good level for hormone support. So you're not starving. And so you can get through it without feeling like you want to poke your eyeball out with a knife. Okay. And what that can do is if you're eating too many high volume foods, it's going to make your fats lower because you're not going to have any room to be able to eat your other macros. And having a healthy amount of fats when you are not in a contest prep is super important for your hormones.
And your brain function. It's very essential.
If you are feeling foggy,
Definitely.
Make sure you know how many fats you're getting in. Okay.
Most definitely. So moving on, it might not work for everybody.
Right.
You know, I know there was a point in time for, and this is just to speak to some people who I've had reach out to me personally since starting the podcast, when we've talked about, you know, our leptin levels, which for those that aren't too sure, you know, there are hungers that help regulate your hunger. And so sometimes when those are out of whack, especially for those that have done extreme dieting for years, like us with competitions and things, your natural levels, they get wonky. And then you really lack the innate ability to understand your body's normal hunger cues. So I know there was a point in time for me, I can speak for myself, where I could have ate 10 bags of shredded lettuce and 10 chicken breasts, and I would have still looked at her and been like, what's next?
Right.
Right. I mean, I know I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
So again, you have to know where you're at in your dieting phase of life to sort of rely on this, I guess.
I feel like another really important thing is like knowing your portion sizes and knowing, because I mean, now we're on a little bit of the leptin talk, you know, and then I just kind of want to dig into that a little bit. I know that not everybody knows where their leptin is. We actually had ours pulled on purpose because we were having such a hard time of not feeling satiated, not feeling full, and we were volume eating, and it was like that. So the thing with that is, you know, you have to really be aware of what your portion sizes are and being able to hold off until the next meal should be happening and not just continuing to eat 10 chicken breasts and 10 bags of lettuce.
Right.
Because there is a lot of mentality that kind of goes into that as well. So you have to kind of pick and choose that, you know, like you might be trying to volume eat, but in reality, if you just wait a little bit, or you realize, okay, I've had the amount that I need to, you're going to be fine and you'll make it to the next meal.
Yes. Which again was hard for us, but we trained ourselves. I also think, you know, and this again is going to be spiraling off into another topic, but I think like we needed to stop dieting. We needed to stop dieting. Some people, you know, they're not, I say some people, like people who are naturally thin, people who tend to naturally fit into like the bikini division, who are smaller, petite people who don't really have much of an appetite. They maybe need to lose 10 pounds to get ready for a show because they're already pretty small individuals, and likely have different metabolisms. Don't have that, you know, don't have that issue, and they can diet for extended periods of time. But I think for, you know, in our case, like we needed to just stop dieting. We had to gain some weight, be uncomfortable for a minute, let our bodies sort of recalibrate. And it still creeps up, right? Like we still have that pop up here and there, and we can definitely have our moments very easily. At least I know I can. But it's gotten a lot better. So where we're not relying on volume eating with every single meal like we used to.
No, not like I used to. And that was definitely a way that I was trying to use that to be able to get over that feeling of not ever feeling full. And, you know, in reality, if you've been dieting for a long time, like I lost over 100 pounds 10 years ago. I have been dieting that long. Now, have I always been in a deficit? Absolutely not. But you know, at that point, my body was just like, you are not going to be full anymore if you keep dieting. So taking a break has been the best feeling because now, you know, a lot of the times I don't feel like that anymore. I can wait to eat. I don't feel like I'm starving. And
it's not consuming your thoughts
right,
like
and
it used to.
Volume eating had helped that, you know, but as it is, it doesn't work for everybody.
It doesn't work for everybody. So one of the biggest cons I find, one of two, is the overeating of volume foods, because that can be a thing too. And that can kick you out of a deficit if you are trying to get ready for a show, or get like, if you're hitting a plateau and you're just like, well, I'm eating lots of volume foods. And people are like, well, this whole bag only has 25 calories, but if you're eating it 4 times a day, and then you're also doing other high volume things here and there, like, I don't know, diet foods and diet sodas and diet sugar-free sauces and all that, like all of those things have negligible calories, but they have calories.
Right.
So that is something too that I oftentimes, if I have clients or competitors that have hit plateaus and I don't see certain foods in their MyFitnessPal, I start having to get really detective-y, right? And I'm like,
what's in your
okay,
coffee?
yeah. Are you having some stuff that you're not tracking? And then I start finding out some different things here and there. Oh, well, I'm eating 3 pickles with every meal, and I'm having, you know, this and that all adds up. And people think because it's green and grows out of the ground or it's healthy, that it's not going to make you gain weight.
Right.
When the reality of it is yes, it can, if you are not in a deficit any longer.
Yeah. If you are having too much of anything, is never a good thing. It's never a good thing.
No. So it's just like, know where you're at with your calories. If you've been volume eating and you're like, my body's not changing, I'm not losing any weight, you might want to do an inventory of the calories that you're spending on your high volume foods that you think are free.
Right.
And just see where that's putting you calorie wise. It could be taking you up like 400, 500 calories. And for someone who's a small person, that's going to kick you out of a deficit.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking there's something that I think that is most people would think would be a low calorie food, but is kind of not. Cabbage.
Oh yeah.
Cabbage. I don't know the exact specifics, but I know that it is not.
It's not like shredded lettuce.
No, it's not like shredded lettuce.
Yeah. So you do have to be careful with certain, you know, certain veggies and things that people, again, think because they're healthy.
I think that's another thing to like count on as fruit. You know, everybody's gonna be like, oh, well, I just eat 3 bananas a day.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, friend.
Yes,
I don't think you know what is in 3 bananas.
Yes. And if you're eating normally throughout the day, and that's easily going to take you over. And that's just like kind of getting in the weeds a little bit. But like, that's when I was in prep and like, I would have 3 weeks of like a plateau and I'd be freaking out. Right. I knew that I needed to start making sure, like, I think I had a banana on my meal plan and I was maybe like eyeballing it.
Right.
And I had berries and I was eyeballing it. And then I'm like, no, I need to now start weighing that shit. But again, that's like when you're getting ready for a show, you have to be meticulous with that kind of stuff. If you want to look ready.
I think that just goes to show that some of the fruits, they're not always going to be a good choice for a high volume food.
Definitely. So another part of that's a con, which it depends on how you look at it. Like I'm pretty much a big proponent of like efficiency and just convenience. So I will buy shit already done so I don't have to deal with that. So I'm not like shredding my own lettuce and like chopping my own spinach and shit like that. So that does take a little bit of time. I know that you usually like to like prep your shit in advance. Is there something that you usually would do with high volume stuff? Like you would chop all your veggies ahead of time?
Oh, 100%. Like I chop, like when I prefer asparagus. I know that this sounds really weird, but I don't like green beans unless they're out of a can, which is also not a terrible thing. Okay. It's better than not eating any green things at all. But when I do asparagus, I don't keep them in strips. I cut them in like little dimes. And then I cook them and I put them in the fridge because like right now, I'm going to tell you, this is terrible. I was like, oh yeah, at Costco, I'm going to buy some frozen vegetables, right? That bag has been sitting in my freezer for 6 months.
Oh my gosh. Because you like to touch your food and get intimate with it.
Yeah. I like
the fridge.
Frozen just is not doing it for me. Okay. So yes, I like to have it fresh. Why? Because it tastes better. And if it's already ready, like my vegetables already have to be cooked, or like with zucchini, I do not cook zucchini. Do you cook it?
No, not
I
anymore.
don't cook it.
Because I will be reheating my food.
Most likely. Right. So what I do. So what I do with the zucchini is I at least chop it up and I can eat that shit raw, which is kind of weird, but
it's not bad.
It still tastes good, you know? And if I've already have my proteins already prepped, what I do is I just scoop my proteins out, scoop my veggies out, throw that thing in the microwave, and then boom, I'm ready, you know? And that's definitely another way for me to get like double veggies in there. And then I'll have less carbs in that meal, or I'll have carbs in another spot. Like I really love rice cakes, which sounds crazy, but I would rather have my carbs that way.
Yeah. I think some other things that I've done with high volume eating too that have been great, but also can be an issue is like things like celery. Like, again, it's like mainly water. It's not my favorite. Celery. I don't like it in my teeth.
Tastes like dirt.
Yeah. So celery is one. Another one that I would eat is like jicama sticks, which I don't really.
You're so fancy.
I don't know. Jicama.
I'm like, what the hell is a jicama?
Yeah. Jicama. I think it's like, I don't know.
Sounds like a hiccup.
I should know what that is, but it's kind of like, it's not a potato.
It's not a root, but it's not a
something.
vegetable.
Yes. And it's very low carb and it's like it's refreshing. It's a lot. It feels very juicy and watery. Watermelon's another good one. And then baby carrots.
Watermelon and carrots have carbs.
They do. But in the context of like how much you can eat and whatnot. So again, calories at the end of the day. But one of the other cons and why I'm bringing these things up is because when I was in prep, I would be like eating that shit while I was making my food, while I was food prepping.
Right.
Because I would be like around food and it would be making me hungry and I didn't want to be consuming that. So I would be like, oh, I'm going to buy some jicama sticks and I'm going to chew on those and have baby carrots. And then like, there was one time where I like blew through the whole thing of jicama sticks and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? This is defeating the purpose.
The whole bag of carrots.
Yeah. So it's like one thing you have to think about is that over consuming a lot of these high volume foods can cause you some GI issues, which we talked about with fiber.
Right.
And I have a very sensitive stomach. And I know that I always know when I'm going overboard with high volume foods.
Why?
Because
why would you know that?
Because I get farty and bloated. And usually my problem is like, I can't go to the bathroom in prep. And that kind of makes the problem worse for me.
Right.
It doesn't help.
Right.
I also don't have a gallbladder, so that also plays into the fact of that, but you just need to know your GI. So I say start slow and don't try to do what we're telling you to do in terms of like when you're in prep and doing all this like at once, because you will pay the price.
You will feel that.
Definitely.
So if this is something like if you're new to like, okay, I want to go ahead, I want to have a diet, but I want to have some high volume foods. What I would say is like start with one meal, right? And then if you feel good and you're like, okay, I feel good, start with 2 meals after that, maybe after a week or so. Like, don't just bomb your intestines with all of this green stuff because you're not going to either be able to poop or you're going to not be able to not stop pooping.
And then I hear this often is like when people do that, they go all in like that. And then they don't want to eat vegetables. Like they just want to not do anything ever again with that. And I'm like, you kind of like went too fast.
0 to 100.
Slow down. Your body has to catch up. So that's another one. And then the last one is sometimes I've noticed for myself personally is that I will just get over full, right? Like I will eat way too much because I'm like, food, I'm done with my food for the day or whatever. And I have no more macros or no more food to be able to eat. And so my last meal, I would just make the biggest fucking meal because I wanted to go to bed with my tummy full and not be hungry.
The biggest meal with a salad underneath it.
Yes.
Right.
So I would usually make my last meal my most filling, and it would have like cauliflower rice and, my egg whites, and I would just be pounding a bunch of shit in there. Like the broccoli, like mushrooms, lettuce
bowl.
And I would have a gigantic bowl.
Yeah.
And I would use the salad chopper, the OXO salad chopper, just chop it all down. And I'm just like eating just this big bowl of just fucking shit.
And then
I'm miserable.
Yeah. Because your belly is too full of all the things. And then it creates all this kind of like gas because all the fiber and whatnot.
Yeah, not fun. So that is our pros and cons of high volume eating. Again, just to reiterate, I think it serves its purpose sometimes with dieting. I think it's great for people who are just getting used to eating a more like whole foods based diet to get an idea of like how much micronutrients they should be consuming, and then just don't abuse it.
Don't go overboard.
Don't abuse it.
Yes. Go slow.
Go slow.
If you stop pooping, go slower.
Exactly. And play around with different things, play around with how you cook them. You'll find a rhythm with that and, find something that works for you. But ultimately, high volume foods is, I feel like, a good addition to anybody's, diet in terms of people who are trying to keep their weight down or get in the best shape of their lives. And honestly, for lifestyle clients.
Yeah.
So it can work for a lot of people, but high protein snacks are a great foundation. I have a freebie download that a lot of those foods could be considered high volume too, because you can consume a lot of them for lower calories and they're great and high in protein. So make sure you find that in the description or in the show notes. Download that bitch. If you haven't already, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. All right. Are we done?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Boss Bitch Radio. We appreciate the fact that you're here listening to us every single week. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave us a comment.
Yeah.
And also
leave us a 5-star rating.
What she said. Peace.
Bye.